Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to our random review. Today we're going to 1982 and Fighting Back, directed by Lewis Teague of Alligator, Cujo and Cat's Eye fame, starring Tom Skerritt, Patti LuPone, Yaphet Kotto as Ivanhoe Washington, that's really his name, and the saboteur guy with glasses from Jurassic Park. He plays a drug dealer outside a school. Michael Sarrazin. This is along the lines of Death Wish, but this is so much better than Death Wish. This is my film of the year so far, as we're at the 12th of January. As I said, it's along the lines of Death Wish from 1974, which seems rather early to me, but there you go. I must be getting old. Directed by Lewis Teague, as I said. This is his third feature after The Wonderful Alligator. This is an Arrow Region A only. It didn't get a Region B Arrow release. But when I say it does feature a family dog, that might give you a clue why it hasn't got a Region B uncut release. But this is a wonderful release and it's a wonderful film. We open with David Raish, or Sledgehammer, playing a news reporter, and he's working on a piece in the booth on the rise of violence in America since Kennedy's assassination, and we see a montage of people being shot. I think it's actually footage from that documentary, The Killing of America. I don't know which actually came first, this or the documentary. We probably got it from the same source. And a really nice move. It cuts from this montage to a family in the living room watching the television while two boys play fight on the carpet, which is a nice segue. And then we realise this is the Tom Skerritt household, who's married to Patti LuPone. And we're in Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, there's moral lessons in this film, including don't live in Philadelphia. Patti LuPone is pregnant, and their parents are moving out. Or his father and Tom Skerritt own a deli, sorry, and it's a kind of Italian community, but there's punks in the streets doing all manner of things. I will mention the kind of the racial aspect of this at a later point. But they're on the way driving somewhere, and they see, when their car's parked at a junction, they do see a pimp with a very nice pimpmobile with nice horns on the front of the car, beating up one of his hoes, as the term is. And Patti LuPone is very upset at that and shouts at the guy and actually gets out the car. And of course the hoe is like, mind your own business, you know, this is my pimp beating me up, you know, this is business. And obviously the pimp's not happy either. Tom Skerritt's not very happy at Patti LuPone getting out of the car, but they get back in. But Patti LuPone won't leave it alone, and she throws a drink over the pimp, which annoys the pimp, and they get into a car chase, which doesn't end well, and it ends up that Patti LuPone miscarries and ends up in hospital. And then Tom Skerritt's mother is in a grocery store, and that gets knocked over by two bad people, and Tom Skerritt's mother ends up in hospital with a particularly nasty wound, which I'm not going to talk about. So Tom Skerritt is somewhat perturbed at this, as he says to the police, you know, who are obviously ineffectual. You know, his wife and his mother are both in the hospital at the same time on different floors, which apart from anything else is really inconvenient for visiting. So he's really annoyed. Michael Sarrazin, who's his lifetime friend, is in the police. But at one point he even admits he doesn't want to take on these kinds of criminals by himself. He admits to actually being a chicken. There's a lot of wonderful things going on in this film. That's why for me I think it's way better than the Death Wish films, but again I'll get to that at a later point. So they happen to be driving, Sarrazin and Skerritt, and they notice this pimp's car. So he goes into the bar and confronts the guy again, and he brings a gun, and he ends up shooting the floor of the bar as Michael Sarrazin's desperate to try and get him out of there before he does something crazy. And obviously he becomes obsessed. You know, he ignores his wife, Patti LuPone, who's actually just miscarried, which he doesn't seem that upset about. So he kind of comes to the realisation, let's actually get the neighbourhood together, and it ends up turning into Ghostbusters for a little while. They get a fire, an abandoned kind of fire station, and they get a car, and they have a little kind of flag with a neighbourhood watch badge. Again, it's pretty much like Ghostbusters. And they get into radio contact, and they're going to patrol each area of the neighbourhood. But of course, things kind of escalate. They take the law into their own hands a little bit. And again, the great thing about the film is it constantly shows you Skerritt is far from perfect. You can tell it's affecting his mental, and it continually kind of shows him doing these things along with his crew, and saying to you, has he gone far enough yet? Has he gone far enough yet? Is this alright, or has he gone far enough? Certainly on the issue of race, all the criminals that are shown are either black or Hispanic. At one point, you know, Skerritt does try and get the help of Ivanhoe Washington, played by Yaphet Kotto, who's only in 2 scenes, but obviously he's brilliant in both scenes. And he's a writer and a community activist, and he's trying to help the poor black folks in the area and trying to attack poverty, because obviously poverty can cause crime amongst other things. And he accuses Skerritt of being racist because he's just, but of course there is one token black guy in Skerritt's crew to kind of try and offset that. But there's a wonderful scene later on where Yaphet Kotto has potentially found the 2 guys responsible for attacking his mother in the grocery store, one of which is black, one of which isn't, and you'll have to watch the film to see how Tom Skerritt reacts. So the idea of kind of racism and race is kind of addressed in the film, but again, because Skerritt is not portrayed, well, he is by certain people in the film as being a kind of saviour and a hero figure, we as the audience, again, it's depending on your political viewpoint. Does he go too far? Does he not go far enough? But then as these things are reported in the media, which is David Raish, he's part of that. The people in politics start getting interested. He's visited by men in suits who are interested whether he's going to run for council, or, you know, because he's now a face of the kind of Italian community and trying to defend themselves and clear up their neighbourhood. All the while this the pimp nemesis pops in and out during the film. Some aspects of the film are predictable, but some aspects is nice surprises, including the police commissioner, who has one of the greatest moustaches in cinema history. You'll have to watch the film, but it puts Tom Skerritt's moustache to shame. It is one of the greatest cinema moustaches. And the fact that the local congressman starts complaining to the police commissioner, and, you know, this guy's dangerous, you know, because these guys, you know, have potentially political ambition, and of course that's not good for me. So it's almost, it briefly almost goes to Wire levels, David Simon levels, of actually trying to see the different strata in running a city, and kind of how this small thing can affect all offices and all kind of, you know. So again, this is not a kind of straightforward, you know, vigilante film. It does show different levels, as I say. You know, Tom Skerritt's character is not perfect, he's not a saint, and again, how you view him and the decisions that he makes, how he treats other people, you know, everybody's probably going to have a slightly different reaction to what he's doing. Tom Skerritt at times, you know, he's supposed to be portraying a kind of hot-headed guy, and blimey, he is hot-headed. At times you do want to kind of shake him and just say, do you want to listen to what people are saying? But of course he's hot-headed. But you will actually feel emotions in the film that you're probably not expecting from a vigilante film. But because Tom Skerritt, you know, no offence to Charles Bronson, we all love Charles Bronson, but there's obviously things that Tom Skerritt can emote that perhaps Charles Bronson can't. Again, we all love Charles Bronson, no offence to Charles Bronson, but Tom Skerritt is more of an everyman. You know, before he went off in space with Yaphet Kotto, but he's more of an everyman, and there are actually some powerful emotional scenes later on in the film, and again, slightly surprising ones. People don't react the way you actually think they'll react, or how they kind of react in a standard film. So this is an absolute cracker. Again, it's my film of the year so far. Again, probably The Family Dog has something to do with the fact it doesn't have a UK Arrow release at the moment. This is just a Region A, as I said. It's wonderfully shot. It was produced by Dino De Laurentiis, so there was kind of a lot of Italian crew. Again, Louis Teague. The camera doesn't like sit about or rest for any time. It's always on the go. It's about 96 minutes. It absolutely flies by. And again, there are it tries to show different levels. I mean, the mafia even get involved with, as I said, the scientist guy from Jurassic Park. as a drug dealer outside a school. That involves the mafia, because they claim, oh yeah, we've got protection from the mafia. And there's a wonderful scene in the church with Skerritt and the mafia boss. It's just really a wonderful, wonderful film, and it is amazing it has been resurrected, because I'd never heard of it, and it does seem to have been completely forgotten about. But it's an absolute cracker. It's got really good extras as well. It's got enough is enough. A new interview with director Lewis Teague, which is absolutely wonderful, where he talks about his journey with Corman and working with John Sayles. And he has amusing Dino De Laurentiis stories. Everybody's got amusing Dino De Laurentiis stories. And then Danny Cam, which is an interview with the camera operator Daniele Nannuzzi, who's one of the Italians that came over, and that's a wonderful interview as well, kind of about the language barrier, and he's got Dino stories as well. It does have a double-sided poster, reversible artwork, and a very nice booklet, which has a career-spanning interview with Lewis Teague as well. So I'd highly recommend Fighting Back. Apparently it was called Death Vengeance in some markets. The score was by Piero Paccioni even, the Italian who did the score for Francesco Rossi's Christ Stopped at Eboli. Does it have a happy ending? That's entirely up to your perspective. But it's such a little cracker, from 1982, and there's even, spoiler alert, there's even like an axe fight in it at some point. It's quite wonderful, and it does have one of the most interesting uses of a water balloon as well. So apart from the life lessons, if you see a pimp beating up a hoe, best not to get involved, and probably best not to live in Philadelphia. So thanks very much for watching. Please let me know if you've seen Fighting Back with Tom Skerritt and Yaphet Kotto before they went to space. Please let me know what you think, and thanks very much for watching. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.